I want to talk to you about how to prepare W-2 wage and tax statements. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. How are you today? I hope you are doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous if you're to ask me. If you are doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka and let's roll. In today's convo, I want to talk to you about how to prepare a W-2 wage and tax statements. What is Form W-2? Let's just kind of go back to the definition, the original definition. Form W-2. We're showing this to you right now on the screen along with the IRS link. So this is a permanent link, irs.gov pub/irs-pdf/fw2.pdf, right? So Form W-2 includes information on employee wages paid the previous calendar year and withholding from those wages, as well as information on benefits and other deductions from wages. So this is more like an informational form that you have to send to the IRS if you're an employer. And it's very important to understand that now that we are in the midst of a pandemic, you have to be very careful about reporting COVID-19 payments to employees. Having said that, the Form W-2 is a permanent form. It hasn't changed for years. Every year, the IRS just updates the year on the form, but the components, the boxes on the form have remained static for the last 20 years. And when are W-2 forms due? W-2s are due to employees by January 31st for the previous calendar year. So if January 31st is a weekend or holiday, the reports are due the next working day. Okay, and it's very important if you want more end of year payroll tax reporting due dates for the current year. We basically have a show on that, and you can actually check that show. W-2 forms are due to the Social Security Administration by January 31st. So after you have given W-2 forms to employees, you must also submit these forms along with transmittal Form W-3 to the Social Security Administration. And one thing we want to say here is that the January filing deadline with the Social Security Administration is really an attempt to curb tax fraud, but it means that you should give W-2 forms to employees earlier in January so they have an opportunity to look them over and find errors. So I was talking to you earlier about the impact of the pandemic on W-2 transmittal forms. What are key changes to W-2 reporting for COVID-19 payments? Now, there are two 2020 COVID-19 relief measures that affect employee wages and salaries, which must be reported on W-2 forms for the year 2020. So you have deferral of employee Social Security tax, and then you have paid sick leave and family leave. Let me just kind of get it a little in details here. So deferral of employee Social Security tax. So this happens because an executive action in August 2020 allowed employees to defer their Social Security tax withholding between September 1st and December 31st, 2020. So you must include any wages for which you deferred this tax withholding in Box 3, Social Security taxes, and or Box 7, Social Security tips. But do not include this amount in Box 4, Social Security tax withheld, if you defer the withholding. And the second change is paid sick leave and family leave. So the Families First Coronavirus Relief Act, the FFCRA, required employers to pay employees for COVID-19 related absence with sick pay and family leave payments. So if you made either or both of these payments to employees during 2020, you must report amounts as follows. So in Box 1, 3, up to the Social Security maximum, and 5, and also Box 14, the same amount as Box 1 or on a separate statement. One thing that's very important is you need to label the payments depending on the type of payment. So it has to be sick leave wages subject to the $511 per day limit, sick leave wages subject to the $200 per day limit, and emergency family leave wages. And one thing I also want to say here is that make sure that whatever information you provide to the IRS, whatever data you provide on W-2, you need to back it up. You need to have the proper, I would say, archiving procedure in-house, so that something happens, if the IRS wants to audit you, you are clean. It's very important. They've been actually going after employers, especially small business owners, who have been a little, I would say, lax when it comes to the archiving requirements. So don't do that. All right. You want to have the proper paperwork ready, and you want to back it up. And how do you gather information to prepare W-2 forms? Now, the information for Form W-2 comes from your payroll register, which shows year-to-date totals for each employee for wages and withholding, along with deductions for medical claims, health savings accounts, and other items. All right, so make sure you're using the correct W-2 form. Use the form dated for the tax year, not the year you're preparing the form. For example, if you're preparing W-2s in January 21st, 2021 for the 2020 tax year, use the form dated 2020. And parts of there are some parts of the form. So you have copy A goes to the Social Security Administration. Copy A is usually printed on a red form. And copy 1 is for the city, state, or locality. Copy B is for filing with the employee's federal tax return. Copy C is for the employee's record. Copy 2 is another copy of another city, state, or locality. And copy D is for the employer's record. And how do you actually prepare the form? So this information is it really depends. So I'm giving you here a general overview of the process for completing a W-2 form. So you have employer information. So for each W-2 you prepare, you will need to include information about your business, including employer ID number, EIN, and employer name and address. So you have the control number. What is the control number? The control number here is basically, and you can see the form. We're showing you the form right now, if you can see it. The control number. Do you have the form? Okay, I want you to really see it so you can have an idea. So you may want to add an internal control number on each W-2. If you are paying many employees, you can generate the number yourself, or your payroll preparation software may generate this number. And employee earnings. Here you put the total wages, tips, and other compensation. Box 1. This is gross pay for all hourly and salaried employees. And the total amount of withholding. Box 2. Total Social Security wages. Box 3. And remember that Social Security wages and Medicare wages may be different from total wages in Box 1. So some pay is not included in Social Security or Medicare wages. So you may need to reduce the entry in Box 3 and Box 5 by this amount. I just wanted you to see look at the screen right now. You can see what I'm talking about. And in Box 4, you have total Social Security tax. Box 5, total Medicare wages. Box 6, Medicare tax withheld. So this amount includes the amount of additional Medicare tax for higher paid employees. In Box 7, you have Social Security tips. In Box 8, you have allocated tips. So check to make sure you separate reported tips from allocated tips. Next, you will need information about employees and total wages and withholding for each employee for last year. Okay, so this is important. I want you to look at here. So we also have other payments. You may have paid advanced EIC payments, earned income credit, right, and dependent care credits paid to your employees. So this will be on Box 9, in Box 9 and Box 10 respectively. Okay, and the thing is, information on retirement plan participation and statutory employees. So on each W-2, you must check the appropriate form if the employee participates in a retirement plan. This is Box 13, or a non-qualified plan, Box 11. If this employee is a statutory employee, Box 13, or if the employee received third-party sick pay, Box 13. And actually, Box 12 is for amounts for other compensation or reporting. And you can enter up to four types of compensation here. And some of the most common information items for Box 12, I don't know if you can see that here, Box 12. Basically, you have uncollected Social Security, railroad retirement, RRTA, Medicare tax or tips on or group life insurance. You have effective deferrals to 401k, 403b, and other qualified retirement plans, non-taxable sick pay, golden parachute payments, excludable reimbursed moving expenses, contributions to medical savings accounts or health savings accounts, non-statutory employee stock options, designated Roth contributions on the 401k and 403b plans, and the cost of employer-sponsored health coverage using code DD according to the reporting requirement of the Affordable Care Act. So you want entries in box 14 where it says other. So those are for other deductions or compensation that must be disclosed to employees for their tax return. Okay, for example, you have after-tax pension, auto reimbursement, special taxes for California, New York, New Jersey, and Washington State, charitable contributions deducted from employee pay, health insurance and fringe benefit deductions, uniform deductions for the cost of uniform, union dues deductions, non-taxable income, vehicle expenses including wages, so 100% of lease value of the vehicle furnished to the employee and included in box 1 wages. And there is also a box for other not on list items you have deducted from employees. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Okay, folks, we are still continuing our walkthrough of Form W-2, and I'm still showing you right now here, and you can see that you have state and local information. So in this section, you will actually enter information about state and local wages and withholding. Now, and this is important, note that you need to enter, there is space actually for 2 states and 2 localities on the form. And if an employee has worked in more than 2 states or localities during the year, you want to use a second W-2 to include the additional information. So you need to enter your 2-letter state code and your business state tax ID number. Box 15, Box 16, state wages. Box 17, state income tax withheld. Box 18, local wages. Box 19, local income tax withheld. And box 20, you have locality name. And the thing is, if you don't report employee information correctly, you may be subject to fines and penalties. So it's very important. Make sure that the information is correct. And you want to check with a payroll tax professional if you aren't sure what information you should include where, when, and how. All right. Now, should you mail W-2 forms or file them online? Now, if you're printing and mailing your own W-2 forms, you may obtain them from several sources. So the IRS has an order form. So we are showing you on the screen, along with the link to that page. So you have the IRS forms order, rather. And this takes 7 to 15 days for it to be processed and sent to you. You also have, you can get the W-2 forms from an online forms supplier or office supply store, your tax preparer or payroll service, and some business tax preparation software. Remember, you may not print out the W-2 forms from a web page because copy A cannot be scanned. Right? You can file your W-2 form online with the Social Security Administration by enrolling in the Business Services Online service. All right? And you must file online if you have 250 or more W-2s to file. If you are filing your W-2 forms online with the Social Security Administration, you don't need to include a W-3 transmittal form. Remember, the W-3 transmittal form is only for the Social Security Administration. And how do you distribute and file Forms W-2 forms? So to the employees, you need to send copies B, C, 1, and 2. All right, this is for the employees. For the employee, rather, right? Because the W-2 is a single form, is a form that goes to each employee, right? So it's personalized. And to the Social Security Administration, you need to send copy A. Now, the Social Security Administration requires that you send copy 8 from each employee's W-2 by January 31st the following year. You need to keep copy D for your records. This is very important. Now, what other key information should you consider when preparing your W-2? Your business's state tax ID number is not your state sales tax ID number. Those are 2 separate entities. Let me repeat that. Your business's state tax ID number is not your state sales tax ID number. So you want to get this straight. Many states use the federal tax ID number, the EIN, and they add digits onto the end. So you want to check with your state Department of Revenue for more information. And what about tip income? Employee tip income is actually subject to Social Security taxes and Medicare taxes, including the additional Medicare taxes. All right, people sometimes think that the tips are so small they're not taxable. No, this is income, so they are required. There are payments required on those tips income, on those revenue items received from tips. And box 12. Box 12, if you have more than 4 items, for box 12, you will need to put the additional items on the second or third. We've seen employers using three W-2s for one employee. All right, okay? But do not include the employee's wage and withholding on the additional W-2s. All right, and if you need to correct errors, the Social Security Administration has a specific process for correcting W-2 errors, depending really on the type of error. So you have to either double check with the Social Security. They have a great FAQ on their website. If you go to www.ssa.gov, they have a great resource there where they actually walk you through all the process, and you know exactly how to correct W-2 errors, and you can find all the info there. All right, folks, this is it for today's conversation. I really appreciate your attention. Thank you so much. I want to quickly recap today's convo. I defined to you what Form W-2 is, when are W-2 forms due, what are key changes to W-2 reporting for COVID-19 payments, how do you gather information to prepare W-2 forms, how do you prepare Form W-2, should you mail the form or file it online, how do you distribute and file W-2 forms, what other key information should you consider when preparing Form W-2. Thank you so much for your attention. I will see you next time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.